All right. Yep, we are live. So we're live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We've got Professor's Choice, Metro Jiu-Jitsu on there. And I'm Coach David with Metro Jiu-Jitsu. As always, we got Professor Muhammad. How we doing today, guys. Professor?
How are you?
We're good. Is this mic on?
Dual test.
Testing one, two.
Much better. Okay, very cool. So, all right. So today we are talking about. We're not talking about Charlie Kirk. Keanu was so you wanted that, didn't you? You were like so anxious to hear what we had to say about that. We're not going to be talking about anything political today. Today we're actually talking about what it means. How happy is America with their J.O.B? How happy are they with their current employment, and what, if anything, can they do about it, or can employers do about it specifically? So, if you had to guess right off the rip, what percentage of Americans would you say are engaged with their work?
Percentage of Americans, I would say 10%.
Oh, that's low.
That's very low.
That's like I don't think we would produce anything as a country if 10% were not engaged with their work. Okay. Well, the answer is 31% is actually they're not, or excuse me, I apologize. 31% are engaged. That's a 10-year low though. So only 31% are engaged. That means 70% are not engaged. 17 are actively disengaged. That means they're disinterested or negatively so. Have you ever had a job that you were disengaged with?
Yeah, when I was a teenager.
What was it?
Gosh. I mean, I was a cook when I was a teenager. I worked at a fruit market, Westbourne Fruit Market, when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll use that one.
In Dearborn?
Yeah.
Has it always been on Michigan?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. It's been there for a minute then.
Yeah.
I
was definitely disengaged. I did not like my my boss and manager. And yeah.
Well, I think there's so we take I think of my mother-in-law, Sue. She just celebrated her like 40th year at her company.
Mm-hmm.
She's been with the same company for 40 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's when I say it's incredible, like hard to believe, it's very hard to believe. So she's been with this company in pretty much the same position for 4 decades. And that is hard for me to believe. And I asked her one time, I was like, Sue, like her name's Sue. I was like, what's going on with, like, how, do you like your job? Like, cause to me, do something for 40 years, that sounds like a sentence. Like you're like, hey, you're going to do the same thing for 40 years and then you're going to die. Like to me, like I don't have, like, that's just, that's kind of tough for me. What do you think it would take to get people engaged in their work, or what would it take for you to be engaged in your work? Let's say you can't work for yourself anymore. What would it require for you to be engaged with it?
Probably I probably need to feel safe. I need to feel that my job is safe. I like a relaxed environment, a company that's established. Yeah, those are probably 2 big ones.
Give me an example
of
an established company.
Metro Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, so we're a very young company. Like by statistically, the odds of us failing in the next 5 years, the odds of us failing up until this point were astronomical. I want to say that 90% don't make it past the first 5 years, and then like of those left, an additional 70% won't make it past the 10th year. That's like small. I'm gonna fact check those, but like that's like small business administration numbers. I thought for sure you were gonna say Ford, and I was gonna ask about the big 3 layoffs in 2010.
Yeah, I mean the big 3 is what comes to mind when you're talking about jobs in Michigan. Like they're like part of the foundation of the economy in Michigan. But, they have their own challenges with like interest rates. And, we were just talking the other day, the price of a mini truck, a Ford Ranger, they're starting out at like $40,000.
Yeah,
So
which is, I don't know who's buying them, honestly. Like I'm not buying it like a for because there's so many other used vehicles out there, and I think that the cost of that is far surpasses it. So, but there are, even at those established companies, like there are people, they're disinterested in it. I've been reading a lot of classifieds lately, not classifieds, Reddits, from millennials, and they're like, they're enduring their day job just to fund their side hustle. So they're kind of silent quitting a little bit. What do you think? What do you think an employer would have to do to keep those guys?
Like I said, at the leadership level within a company, there's a lot of things going on the backside that the public and the consumers, customers, or clients, they don't see, and there's a lot of moving pieces to business. The deliverable product is most people have no idea what it takes to get there. They just see, the finished lunch presented on your plate. So there, with companies, there's a lot of like deadlines. You can even call them stresses to deliver that finished product. So I think that's what was your question?
The question is how can you get someone more engaged in their work? Like as an employer, what can you do to get someone more engaged in their work? Because right now only 30% are. That means 7 out of 10 people on the payroll, they're not engaged with their work.
Yeah.
In fact, they're just kind of biding their time, collecting a paycheck, working their minimum 40 or 35 or whatever it is, so that they can either maybe do their own side hustle or build it up to something else. Or they're just not engaged. They're literally doing the minimum required to not get fired.
I mean, I see it as like two parts. So if you look, we have urgent cares all over Southeast Michigan, right? We have
We have a lot.
Yeah, like
Do you hear what I hear on his mic? I think his mic just went out a little. Can you talk again for me?
testing 1 2.
That microphone, for whatever reason, is giving us a huge static right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to swap over to this microphone.
So
I can move it over.
yeah, let's go ahead and move. We'll make that change so you can relocate this one. I'm gonna swing.
Camera's stuck on you right now.
That's okay. I can talk. I know how to talk. So you were saying that there's a bunch of urgent cares in the area right now, and so like when I talk to I can think of 2 family members as we speak, right? 2 family members. They are actively. Yeah, I got it. They're actively looking for different employment, and they work at a local professional company in Wyandotte, and they're actively looking for other employment. One of which I think finally did make a switch. She quit and bought something else or got into something else. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what it would take to get them engaged, because it always comes down to. I remember we hired a chick at summer camp, right? She had all the answers. And she quit. Ironically, she quit working for another summer camp. We really shouldn't have hired her. She quit working for another summer camp because of upper management. And then first or second weekend, she's like, well, upper management should be here. And we were doing the street fair thing. Remember, we were at the street fair, like doing like the $60 challenge, like actively promoting the business. And they're like, well, upper management should be here. By definition, like upper management is not like, they're not going to be boots on the ground. They've trained the other people to do so. She was just a walking liability. Again, poor hire on my part for hiring her. But like, what do you think it takes? Like, if someone's going to complain about leadership, because they always people want to complain about leadership, but I think there's a level of naivety to that, of what that takes. So if you're in a leadership position,
Right.
what does it take to make someone engaged in their job?
Yeah, like I was saying, if you use like a medical practice, a urgent care,
Sure.
or a clinic, like if you look at them in a strip mall, they have an address, okay? And next door could be a dollar store, and the next door could be a party store. Each address is a business.
Sure.
So I think a missing appreciation for staff, for any employees, is putting that first, is saying it doesn't matter what address, they're different businesses, but they all have one goal: is to be profitable. So within that, taking that into consideration, I think employees don't see all the hard work that goes into big companies, small to medium-sized companies, and even small companies, what it takes to get that business operational. So that's the first part. I think that, I like to really remind our team and our staff of that, is say, look, we're a business, and let's just make sure that's clear and we understand we're here to be profitable. Then you go into like the culture and the core values of every company, and there has to be some type of like vision or mission. I think mission is a better word. Okay, if there's a mission that an employee can see, understand, and appreciate, I think good things will happen then. But you got to respect the business and definitely appreciate the mission of every company, because, the people who go into business just because of the money, but they have no mission and they have no core values, I don't believe they last long, and they build up a core of people around them to support it. Because if it's only about money, there's always a bigger, better deal.
So what's I don't know. I think by nature, because I've been on both sides of this, right? Like I've worked for people, and I've seen all the things that go into it. But I don't know. Like it's inherent. They understand you got to make money as a business.
Yeah.
But I don't know if someone's working in I'm just thinking of a Dollar Tree, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone's applying for it to be a Dollar Tree clerk. I mean, they can understand their role in terms of what they do, but they don't need to understand like the lease per square footage or the rent or things like that. Like they're showing up. This job is to meet their goal kind of position where it's at. So one thing that's important to, I look at sustainability, like is someone, if you got a family is someone like, let's say you have the husband and he's got a household of 5 and he's applying at the Dollar Tree. Like I probably wouldn't hire him. You're right. By default, this position is not going to be for you. Like you won't be here in 3 months, unless it's like you're working after hours, after it's supplementary or something. But there's no way it's going to be able to provide for the position that you need.
Yeah.
So that that's what I'm looking at. But I wonder, like when I was working at in the construction door company, there was poor organization, no reception to new or creative ideas or things to make things a little bit more efficient, and not utilizing the right people at the right skill sets. I think that to me, I was like, this is just you're using electrician's pliers as a hammer, and it's ridiculous. It's kind of like it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, but you can appreciate now as a business owner, it's not that easy to you have a business or a company, and you have a visionary, you have an integrator, and you have leadership all around you. It's not that easy to like say, okay, this is our plan, this is our vision, and this is how we're going to get it done. And then you start to plug people in positions. It's not that easy to fill those positions with people to basically build somebody else's dream. So let me give you an example. The Dollar Tree person, or take a pharmacy for example. A pharmacy they have a pharmacist in back, and they have a pharmacy tech in the front/cashier, right? And typically the pharmacy tech wants to go into medical or medicine and pharmacy, and so they're doing like the dirty work. They don't necessarily get to talk to people about their medicine, what is it, contradictions, or when medications mix or whatever. The communication or connection with the pharmacy tech to the consumer is not necessarily there. And my point is that as a company, the way you want to help and talk to your patient who's picking up a script, they could do it all themselves on ChatGPT or online, is the same way that you have to like really communicate, educate, and train your staff.
Yeah. So for those who are following along on this and sticking, we're gonna tie in jujitsu into this because
patient
because of
they could do it all themselves on ChatGPT. Sorry about that.
is that so we're gonna tie in jujitsu
Yeah.
into how that, what type of employee that makes. But to your point of like, how easy it is. Listen, like, you open a business, that's what you signed up for. Like that is what the business requires. If your argument is going to be like, oh well, it's difficult, then go work for somebody, right? But like and in my particular case, working for Hanging Doors and I was coming up with ideas like routine issues that were recurring. I provided several solutions. All of them shut down because it was an inception problem. It wasn't the boss's idea. So I was like, couldn't be a fucking good idea. Couldn't be a good idea.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh well, it's not, because he just wanted the like things to be his idea as opposed to just solving the problem. So like to me, like I'm like, well, all right, if that's not cool with you, then I just won't provide any more ideas because I'm not going to use my valuable brain power to come up with solutions, which they're going to be shut down anyway. So then I can just watch you drown and flounder. And I'm going to go over here and do something else. And that's exactly what I did. So, and I think that exact sentiment is what everyone's feeling. Now, interesting take. What's your over under on people that would want to work for themselves? What do you think?
If they really knew what it took.
No, just people, what does it say about people who think that it would, working for themselves?
The amount of people?
Percentage of people that say they would prefer to be their own boss rather than work for someone else, according to Gallup.
I don't know.
Take a guess.
30, 20%?
20%. What do you think, Coach Kiana? Is your mic on? What do you think?
How many people want to work for themselves?
Say they would prefer to be their own boss rather than work for someone else.
I'm going to say it's staggering like 60, 70%.
62%. 62% say that. So, and I think it, to your clarifying question, to be your own boss, like that's a pretty, there is comfort, a lot of as we go on to pull the data, people stay in these jobs. Say, why would someone stay in a job that they hate? Because they feel like there's not a better opportunity. There's risk involved. There's like, how do you, like a lot of people, they won't chase that. But then when asked about why they haven't started it, the number one reason, people claim it's lack of money, lack of startup, but about 40%, 30 to 40%, they're saying, I just don't know how. And so I would be like, well, there's the wanting to do something, and then there's the doing what that something requires. And so I think, it was interesting. My pastor this past Sunday talked about work as it pertains to kingdom work, he called it. And he's like, that's just kind of something you do to kind of fulfill kingdom work. And I was like, man, that is I was rolling my eyes. I was like, that's such an employee's mindset of if I've ever heard of it. Like, it's just something I do. I just have to accept it for 60 or 70 years. And I that's a really difficult mindset for me to kind of obtain, because I like my work to be fulfilling. I like to see that I'm kind of building something. Right, I like to see that I'm working on something. Even when we were hanging doors and building, like when we worked on we worked at the mosque across from your street. That was pretty cool, except for when prayer time came around and we had like 500 people walking through barefoot through our doorway, and we literally just put our tools down and walked away. Like we're like, well, nothing's happening for an hour. But that was cool because you're part of you're building something bigger, and then you played your part, and then you can go around the city and see parts that you built in. But I think of having purpose. Do you think there's a level of, and I'd love to get your input too, Coach Keanu, as an immigrant. Do you think there's a level of entitlement that comes with the labor force in America? Across the board. I'm not talking generational entitlement of quote unquote the kids these days. I'm saying, do you think there's a level of entitlement of like, I deserve to have XYZ instead of, work being work?
If you're talking about medium to small size business, I think I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say no, there isn't a level of entitlement. But when we see it in small to medium size businesses, I think it's because those big companies always paint the bigger, better deal. And I think they've trained them to almost be entitled, but never give them a way out to they suck them into the system, into the vacuum of, and they trick them into work for, 20, 30, 40 years or whatever and get your retirement. But I think you and I see it, but it's not, I think it's because they're being brainwashed by big companies.
Well, you've just traded something. You've traded excitement and novelty for comfort and consistency. I think it's just a trade, there's an excitement level to working for yourself, owning this. There's an excitement level to that. There's also an immense amount of uncertainty, and it's an immense amount of uncertainty versus like a cubicle. You take a corporate world, or even, now it's a lot of virtual. Dude, I would do about 1 week of back-to-back meetings, and then I'd put in I don't care. I really don't care what you're paying me. Of back-to-back 8-hour meetings, I'm on Zoom all day. There's no, I no, not a chance. And so but there a lot of people that just, and there's the joke of, I have my coffee, I have my this, I have my whatever. Even on Reddit, I thought it was interesting. They're like, they've got Zoom in one window and they're building their online business in another window. Like the three, but because they can do that. I mean, there's so much waste in corporate America, but you're selling your soul a little bit.
Ridiculous.
My opinion. Coach Keanu, how's the labor force from how long have you been in America?
Since November 2019.
Long time. Yeah.
6 years roughly.
Yeah, that's a long time. How's the labor force in America compared to South Africa?
That's a tough question. I'm not quite sure what you mean by entitled. Like where I come from, if you don't graduate high school, it's like a death sentence. Like that's just the cultural attitude. If you don't get your high school diploma, there's just no hope for you whatsoever.
Is that a reality?
Well, in America, that's not the case.
In South Africa. You will not get a job if you don't have if you don't graduate high school.
I think there's a cultural stigma. So people just look down on you because you just couldn't get that. And it's like the lowest bar of entry just to get that. But if you get that, it does open doors for you to get better opportunities. And there's a lot of places that just won't hire anyone without a high school diploma. Whereas when I moved to the States, it just doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like everyone talks like that's the case, but there's tons of jobs.
It's not the case at all.
Yeah, there's tons of jobs here in the United States that will hire people without high school diplomas, and they can actually work their way.
Yeah.
Case in point, I didn't finish high school because I missed 2 exams because of my visa. I had to leave South Africa, and I was there the whole school term, but I missed 2 exams, so they didn't pass me. And when I moved here, I was like, oh boy, we'll see what happens. But I went to work at a movie theater, and within 6 months, I was able to get promoted to manager, and then I was leading an entire department, and I was in charge of projection within like a year.
Because it's performance. It's performance over pedigree.
Well, that was my next point. Is if you approach a job like an opportunity, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And I think the mindset and psychology, regardless of where you are working, it's an opportunity to learn. and an opportunity to connect and meet with new people.
I
It
wanna-
does not matter any industry, and that's where the entitlement comes in because you're approaching it to get paid. Like, I'm here, so you owe me something. But if you approach it as an opportunity to connect and learn and educate yourself on whatever industry that is, I think that's where growth happens.
So, and I do want to come back. I'm going to bring it back to Keanu here in a few, but let's inject jiu-jitsu, being that we're on the Metro Jiu-Jitsu podcast, right? What type of mentality? So it's an opportunity, right? We talk about when class showing up with intention.
Yeah.
So with each day showing up with intention, and I kind of live in like personally I live in like a 90-day window, right? A 90-day, like if I inherently there are going to have to be things that days where you have to do things you don't want to do, right? Or things that more appropriately that you hate.
Yeah.
I'll endure that for a time. Like I will not do that for a year. I will not do shit that I hate for a year. I just won't do it because it's not a necessity. It's not required. It's not the reality in which we're talking about here in America. And then I'm not even talking about doing stuff that you hate for, like, let's say there are other opportunities, whether that are currently available or could be made. You could go, create opportunities yourself. So showing up with intention, what is that mindset or an attitude of someone who doesn't train jiu-jitsu versus does train jiu-jitsu? And I'm going to poll Coach Keanu based on you know what we should do is that, so that is you've got your tablet, right? And if is the rear facing camera,
I think I'd rather just turn this on and reverse it. I can do that when we're like next question.
yeah, or we could even add this one. We could get this one on going on you. But the question I have for you is, how long ago did you start training jiu-jitsu?
Oh, sorry. That's the camera.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu roughly just about 2 years or just over 2 years now.
Okay. And did you notice a change in your approach to your work before? This is tough because he's not from America, so it's gonna be. I feel like he's a harder worker like than most when he got off the boat, metaphorically speaking. But versus before jiu-jitsu or after jiu-jitsu.
Well, I think
before he answers that question, I want to put something in perspective for our viewers. Keanu's been with us for how long, Coach?
Yeah, as far as doing the media.
No, jiu-jitsu.
He just said 2 years. Yeah.
So. Before he gives the question, so he would be a fantastic example. He's been with us for 2 years, and in those 2 years, he's not one of the athletes and team members who train 4 or 5 days a week.
Correct.
He doesn't have to be there. I don't think you've competed at a tournament, have you? He hasn't competed.
Yeah, we'll get you in jiu-jitsu. We'll get you back to Franken with Coach.
So we're going to use this case. He hasn't competed. He's not the person who's there 3 to 5 days a week. Has his school, he has his professional career, and so he's a very, very, very part-timer. So I have no idea. I don't think we've ever asked you this question, but I'd be curious to know what it is. But just to put it into perspective, like, you're as part-time can get. I mean, I'm on you all the time about, when are you getting to class? When am I going to see you again?
Oh. What is the question? Well, I just heard. I just heard an insult. Damn.
Look, I would bet my paycheck that Keanu has grown, but we're gonna hear it from you. I just don't want our viewers to think, oh, he must be training 4 or 5 days a week for 2 years. No,
and I wouldn't lie about it either.
Yeah. So go ahead to Coach David's question.
Hi. Well, first. Before I answer that question, the attack, I agree with everything Professor said about the entitlement. I think you've clocked the concept. If you treat a job like an opportunity, you're more likely to progress in it. Because compared to the people that I started with at the movie theater almost 5 years ago now, I progressed a lot further and a lot quicker inside the company because compared to my coworkers who all got paid the same, I just put in more. So I got promoted And then a lot of them were quite like upset about that.
Took more ownership. You probably took more ownership of the role.
I'd never been more excited for a job. I was like, oh my goodness, like we get paid to do this. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think you made that you somehow gave me closure on a thought process I never quite concluded. I love jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu for sure. For someone like myself who's always going to put effort into something I enjoy, jiu-jitsu kind of just made sense. So I kind of just naturally felt the means to just commit myself to it. But in terms of my time, I think just where my life's at as a creative, it's really difficult because I don't know my schedule week to week. I'm very envious of our other members who have like set schedules, like a set 9 to 5,
Yeah.
and have families, because they kind of know, even though it's a bit chaotic, they know where things fall. So they know, oh, well, Tuesdays and Wednesdays I'm available, or Mondays and Saturdays I'm available. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's very up and down. Sometimes my shoots can go anywhere between like 16 to 18 hours. So it's like I don't know.
That's wild. Yeah.
And then like to get to a zombies class, when like zombies class is at 6 a.m.
That's 6 a.m.
and we get off at like
Start
2
time for
a.m.
viewers.
Yeah, that's off the menu, right? That's what David said.
Yeah. I think someone threw a roster on there, but that's a secret menu item.
So since starting jiu-jitsu, what have you noticed about you personally, professionally? Obviously, you were motivated and you approached the first job at the media movie theater with a opportunity mindset and add value mindset. But what have you noticed in yourself that was changing as you were training jiu-jitsu throughout that time?
I've turned this into an interview.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna bring it because we got Alejandra is commenting as well. One of our members.
Sick.
So
What's the thing that's changed the most in me is, it sounds ridiculous, but I'm a lot more understanding of people. I'm a lot more patient with people than I used to be. And it's odd. I didn't expect that. Like I went into jiu-jitsu mainly because of the desire for discipline in my life, based off things like people like Joe Rogan and all those commentators had said about it. They said like the benefits of it mentally are, completely just out the box. Like it will blow your mind what you learn about yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, yeah, and discipline, I could do with that. But then learning how patient I became with people just in like conversations. There's something beautiful about being in some sort of position where you're not comfortable and you just have to like go inside yourself a little bit and you just have to hyper focus on surviving. That I think encourages
in a
patience.
conversation. Yeah, that's funny. I feel like I've gotten less patient. Like over the. I mean, certainly it's helped with difficult conversation. Like, but this is just my old man age of like. I will not like. I can do a good job of concealing my impatience, but bro, I'm gonna have one of those conversations with somebody that I don't have to, and then I will never talk to that person again. If I'm talking to an idiot, like I'll just be like, all right, that's that person. I will check them in my box as a fool, and reduce my interactions with them as often as I can. Probably tough hot spot for you, as a manager, in the movie theater, right? Like you probably have to have those conversations. I want to plug in here Alejandra. I don't know if she's still here. She says my job usually requires a college degree, and I was able to bypass that through hard work and doing the extra work. And then when I was a manager, I would always tell my staff that if they're happy where they are, have no intentions working the way up, then they can do the bare minimum and just do their job. If they want to move up, though, they have to be willing to do the work that others won't do. So I think that's an appropriate response, right? You can't expect your entry-level employee to think and act like an owner. If they do, then they get the owner's way. It's not their company. Then they should reap the benefits of the owner, right? All of the flexible time benefit, all the things, right? If they think and act like an owner, I think that's actually a pretty responsible thing. So you give someone, we'll do the dollar store front desk, right? She was a financial institution, so they're I would assume a teller maybe might be the first thing, right? Like you just want to like withdrawals, deposits, that's all you want to do. Okay, then just do that. Just do that until, and then, but if the bare minimum, once you drop below the bare minimum, like if you're not even doing the bare minimum, then you're gonna go. But if you want to go above there, then you understand this goes into the point and where jiu-jitsu comes in. It's a competition. There's only one manager, maybe two at a branch. I don't know, but like, so if you want that spot, Coach Keanu competed for a spot, manager spot, at his place of work, right? And so, like, if you wanted to be a foreman or a partner or whatever it is, you got to be willing to outwork the rest. And I think, and I know for a fact, a sentiment of current workers is pay me the higher salary, and then I'll do the work required of it. They don't want to do the work first, and then I'll follow that up with, that is how many years would one have to work to even turn a profit working for themselves. So you get to when you become an entrepreneur, start a business, you have you put all the money up front, you take all of the risk, make none of the money for years to reap the benefits. It's just something not many people are willing to do.
Yeah, that type of mindset is an asset to have with a company, and that's what a company needs in order to survive, not even grow, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, companies need it. But I think the middle, I'll call them the middle class, like you have 10% of the people that are in this country, the wealth is, let's say, 10%, and 3% of that 10% is like generational wealth or more, and then you take, I think it's 20% that are like poverty or below, so that middle class of like 40 to 60% or 50 to 60% that's where the focus needs to be. And as a small to medium sized business, we are in the position to help develop, grow, and listen to these people. Because the grass isn't greener on the big company side, like say the big three or those big multi-million dollar national and multinational companies. The grass is not greener. Like you were saying, there's like meeting after meeting after meeting, and what are we getting done? There's so much red tape within those big companies, and I think the opportunity for small to medium-sized business to understand that we are actually employing the 50, 60% of this workforce, and if we do not take care of that portion of the employee workforce, and we don't commit to developing them, then they are going to look somewhere else, and we have to keep that in mind, because that 50 to 60% of the workforce, you could almost say they're never going to be a small business owner. They maybe they don't want to, and maybe they shouldn't. So there has to be a safe place for employees in Michigan and in the workforce to set a platform to develop these.
So we're putting in a. We're gonna dive. This is a day in the life of a business owner as we speak, right? We have achieved everything for the C of O in this building. And then they came through for a final. They've been through this building 25 times. They came through a final time, and they saw some kids for our summer program. And they're like, do you run a daycare here? I said, no. And he's like, oh, well, now that restarted the conversation, and they mandated a fire alarm to go in. And so the electricians, if you guys know anything about electricians, they're messy. They leave their shit everywhere, and apparently they like hammers. So like that is they're not. I would never accuse them of being like making precise cuts of things, but that's what they're doing. They're directly under our feet, apparently hammering things. So when you hear that, that's what's happening in the situation. So take that for example. I mean, that was a huge. I think it was that alarm's like $12,000 or something that the city mandated to. And look, they're keeping the kids safe. I don't care, but let me rephrase that. They're keeping the kids safe. Therefore, I don't care about the extra expense, right? So, but that is you have to be willing to kind of. those things like that and added costs and everything, like, because all the consumers and employees see are costs are going up. Business owners are just charging us. They're just fattening their pockets. That's not the case. Grocery profits have never been lower. Period. Oil profits, not super great. Like car dealers, you think that $50,000? Well, it's because the cost of everything is going up. Their costs go up, your costs go up, and so. To your point about empowering those people, I think every person, you need to know what each person wants in their business, what's important to them. I think of Coach Sarah, who's our summer director. She's actually, we got her coming. Her and a couple of the other directors are coming over. We're going to have a meeting at my place next week, or we're working around her schedule to plan for summer of 26. Because she's so excited, and she takes a huge pay cut because she works in the school district. She gets assaulted every day, literally assaulted. She works with special needs kids, but special kids, they're like 17 years old and 220 pounds, something, and they're like just beating her, right? But the money pays the bills. So she works. She has autonomy. With the program that we give her, she takes ownership of it. I let her make a very large amount of decisions in her campus, and we show appreciation and recognition for her, and so that is what's important in her. It's not as much about the pay; it's about the recognition and what they get, and it depends on. Some people they're like all about they're like, dude, I'll do whatever if the pay's there. Like I'll go the extra, I'll work the extra, I'll show up early, I'll stay late.
Yeah.
I'll do all those things. And so if the pay's there.
Yeah, and it's funny because in the workforce, the first question is, well, what does it pay, right? And then they look at the job description and the responsibilities and the accountability, and then they say it's not worth it. So I think before the pay is even discussed with any company, you have to look at the job description and can you do it, or can you be coachable, or how do you feel of going through the process of getting trained on this position, this job description, and within the overall operations of a company. And so I think they put, the question shouldn't be what does it pay? The question should be, what is a job description? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Tell me how work looks on a day-to-day activity, but a day-to-day basis. But to answer your question about like how does jiu-jitsu help the employee and what does it compare to, I would say we know jiu-jitsu is like chess, right? Jiu-jitsu is also like checkers. For a moment in time, you're kind of strategizing what you're going to do and what your partner's going to do. Jiu-jitsu is like Connect Four, where you drop those little things in there. For a moment in time, you're putting in those things and seeing what is your opponent thinking and what is what are you thinking, and are you trying to set him up? Does he see your setup? Jiu-jitsu is like Monopoly. You're playing with a group of people, and there's more bartering, trying to convince people, what to do or what not to do. But jiu-jitsu is just a game that taps into your brain to get it to start to think, to problem solve, and to, think about your next steps. What are they doing? I mean, it's really just a game that stimulates your mind and at the same time, getting you in shape. Helps critical thinking, problem solving, and it's just a game that stimulates your brain. And that's why, that's why we're nerds. That's why they call us nerds.
Yeah. So I want to circle back to my conversation. Alejandro says, by the way, I started as a teller. Now I'm a business data analyst. Coach Keanu, when I say employee entitlement, I mean that they deserve it's the attitude or mindset that they deserve they deserve maximum reward for minimum effort. I showed up and I'm here to your mention of quote unquote building someone else's dream. A strong business profit margin is 20%. It's like a strong business profit margin. And so some vary. If you're in a financial district, right, your profits are going to be a little bit higher. But like in a construction company, you're a million. You know, people see a $20,000 roof job, and the company is going to profit about four. But all the laborers see is that $20,000 job, right? And so the in turn they can't even begin to comprehend all of those bills coming in. And so I think that not all, but I think some of that entitlement is an attitude that is it's not across the board, but it certainly exists in America. Do you see that amongst your peers in South Africa? I guess you were young. I guess I didn't realize how young you were when you left South Africa. But do you see that in the peers of the workforce, or was that a sentiment that you saw? I know you said South Africa tends to mimic whatever America does. You know, whatever where is important to us at this time. You know, they kind of hop on that train. But what have you seen? I'd be curious to get that cultural experience.
I mean, I started working when I was about 17. I started working at a DVD store in like my local neighborhood.
17?
I may have been. I think I was 16 actually.
What's a DVD?
You spoiled brat.
What?
17 years old?
Pretty old, I guess.
What were you doing like 15, 16, 17? I'm just kidding, by the way. But
Well, South Africa's a tough place to just find work in general.
That's fair.
And so to find a job at like my age, I mean, the story.
Yeah, having an American tell a South African how spoiled he is. That was crazy.
There was no safaris where you can go hunt animals.
That was madness.
Kill lions and
Well,
tigers.
no, the story of how I got my first job, essentially, just a speed recap before I answer Coach Fox's question, was I was making short films and I realized I had to like spend money on them. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel comfortable going to my mom every time I needed to make a short film with my friends and ask for money. So I was like, I got to do something about this. And so I told my family one day that I was going to leave the house and I was going to find a job before the sun went down. And my aunt and my grandmother were having coffee in the kitchen. And I lived with my grandparents at the time. And they just laughed. Like they laughed. And I just walked out and I went and opened the gate and I left. And I could still hear them laughing in the kitchen. And then like hours went by and I walked around the entire neighborhood. I walked into stores that were owned by Pakistan guys. And I would ask if I could do anything, stock bread or anything. And they told me to get lost. I went into black salons and I was like, I'll like sweep up hair. And like I'll learn how to weave. They were not interested. Awesome. They told me to screw off as well. I walked into barber shops. I was like, I'll just sweep floors. Like I was just looking for something, right? Mm-hmm. I was about 16 at this time. Yeah, okay, 15, 16.
Dude, if a 17-year-old walked into the gym and said this, like, I would make a position for them. Well, keep going.
They didn't. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I went to restaurants, like anything in my neighborhood in like a walking distance I went to, because I also didn't have a car. So I was like, it's got to be within walking distance. So I just walked around. I couldn't find nothing. Pizzerias, sports places, and no one was interested. And I had like a whole speech that I wrote that morning, which was, hi, my name's Keanu. I'm a student. I'm looking for a part-time position just to get some experience and earn some money. That's kind of like, I practiced this and it wasn't working. Like no one wanted to listen to me, nobody. And then I went to this restaurant/business that was owned by fellow Portuguese immigrants that my grandparents knew. And I'm like, nepotism? So I went there and I explained and they told me to get lost as well. And I was like, dude, this is like the worst. And the sun was going down. So I walked past this DVD store that I went to as a kid. And I was like, these DVDs are going out of business. Like no one's watching DVDs. But I was like, I've literally asked everywhere. If I can ask the black hair salon for like, you know, black ladies where they get their weaves and stuff. Like there's no more like anywhere else I can go. So I went and I knocked. I didn't even knock on the door. I shouted through the gate, and there was a guy behind the counter who ended up becoming a friend of mine. And I just said, "Are you hiring?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, there's no way. He's like, "What's your number?" So I just shouted my number, and then I just walked home. And I was like, it was useless. And as I got in through the gate, my aunt started shouting at me, and my grandmother was upset. They're like, how dare you leave? You know how unsafe. I'm like, I told you guys what I was going to do, and you laughed at me. They thought I just hid in the backyard or something. They didn't think I actually left.
They thought you were being dramatic, and you were just going out.
They were super stressed the whole time, and they were blowing up my phone, but I didn't notice. And then I'm standing with my aunt, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't find anything, believe it or not. Like, I couldn't find a single thing. No one will give me a shot. And I got a text like 10 minutes later from the owner of the DVD store, and that ended up being my first job. And I worked there for about 2 to 3 years until they closed down, and then I immigrated. So that was my first job. That was the first thing I ever did. But no one in my age range, no one in my high school, in my age range, had a job. It was just like an impossibility. Unless you worked for your family, like part-time, if your family had a business, that was common. But it was just, it's not like here in the United States where when I was a manager at the movie theater, I mean, I don't work there anymore, but when I did, I had like an influx of 16, 17-year-olds constantly filling in applications. And none of that existed when I was a kid back in South Africa. You couldn't just have access to jobs like that. And also, like, there was a mall that had places you could work at, but I didn't have a car, and I didn't want to be relying on my parents to take me back and forth from my job.
Sure.
So I was like, it's my neighborhood or nothing. So like that's that's a problem. But then to answer David's question, yeah, in my time in South Africa, just because of the virtue of me being a step above, which sounds arrogant, but my classmates were always taken aback when they knew I was working. Like, how'd you find a job? Like, oh, that was yeah. By the way, this is
Knock on doors.
this is gonna blow your mind, Professor. How much do you think I got paid an hour in dollars?
South Africa?
I got paid in South African rands, but how much do you think it was in dollars?
I don't know, a few dollars an hour.
90 cents.
Wow, Coach David, you are very close. It was 72 cents an hour. I got paid 12 rand an hour.
Wow.
Which I didn't know was 12 cents until I moved to the States, and my stepbrother, he was like, how much did you get paid? And he ran the calculation. He's like, holy shit. And at the time, he was being paid like maybe just about $22 an hour to do some sort of construction thing.
Wow.
And he was like, I will never, ever take anything for granted again. So I got paid 72 cents an hour, which as a kid with no bills, that was enough to essentially pay for my little movie things I was doing and take my girlfriend to the movies. So I was like, I'm set.
Well, I think even just my takeaway from that, there's several takeaways from that story, which I love stories like that, dude. Like I love stories like that. Is first thing I heard was I didn't feel comfortable asking my parents for money for your project. Like that's the first thing I heard. And that is the antithesis of entitled. Right? Like that is the exact opposite of an entitled attitude. The entitled be like, Mom, I want money, but Dad, I want to. Yeah, and then so now he's like, I get to go out and eat what I kill, effectively. If there's something, there's something. I think that is, and that is the nature. Those are two stark differences of, hence the cliche, the land of opportunity. I don't, there's ample opportunity. I think that there's ample opportunity to get a job, and it may not be your dream job right now, but to your point about looking at it as an opportunity, like that's your stepping stone. Get in. Like you can't come into a business and hold out for a management position when, Ricky, who's been there for 8 years, is trying to do the same thing. You can come in and try and outwork Ricky. Right? You can learn faster than Ricky. You can see how to become better than Ricky at Ricky's job. Or better yet, like ask Ricky to teach you. Like that's when I didn't know anything about hanging doors. I knew very little about construction. My boy Steve he's a good friend of mine now. Dude, he was so pissy. Like he was just like your typical construction worker, like what's your name? Like just so angry all the time, and like just would throw things and shout, and if you mess stuff up, like he would cuss you out. And I was like, I'm gonna get in good with this dude. And so every morning I would have he always had some shit to say about Amanda would make me coffee, and it was like garbage. It was not good coffee, but it was coffee made at home. And he's like, oh, your wife made you coffee? I was like, yeah, she did. And then he smelled it one time. It was like peppermint or whatever. He's like, well, that smells like Christmas in a cup. And I was like, that's how I'm gonna get him, because he didn't have coffee, and so every morning I would make him the same coffee, and he's like, "What do we have today?" And like that was all it took, and then he just like took me under his wing, and then
Cup of coffee.
Yeah, fast forward, he was he was here leading the crew when they put that egress window in, and so he and I were talking shit. But it's an opportunity, right? Like, and if you look at it, you have to, you can be like, oh, well, this is, it's not fair. The Mega Millions, the 1%, the whatever. You'd be like, hey, listen, I'm gonna make of this what I can. And even if I have to work this 40-hour job and then get a 30-hour side hustle, like that's what I'm gonna do. Or take it if there's overtime, great, take overtime, or find another way. The concept of adding value to the marketplace, it's a requirement of every business owner. It's a requirement. The second you stop adding value to the marketplace and listening to the marketplace of what they want, think of Blockbuster, you will go under. You will have no more business.
I agree, and I think employers, and so I'm going to talk to small and medium-sized companies with like under 200 employees. I think they have to add value to their staff. And so one of my kids, I was talking to them, and they wanted to go work for somebody else, right? And obviously, I wanted them in the family business. I'd love to go to work and see my friends and family every day at work. And they were like, "No, I want to go work for somebody else. I don't want to work for you." And I essentially told them, I said, "Listen, if you go to work for somebody else, you're gonna go and say, 'Hey, I want a job. I want to save money because I want to buy a car,' or something like that." And I said, "You are gonna be that employer's bitch." All right. So that's just how it's going to work. So they're going to give you the dirtiest job and the lowest level, and what usually happens is they're not they want to kind of keep you in that position so you can do that cleanup type work, whatever industry we're talking about. So I said, at your job, if you don't work for me, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose customers. You're going to lose business. You're going to contribute to accidents happening. It happens to everybody. You cannot stop it. So, so the culture that we try to have at work at Metro Jiu-Jitsu is just the opposite. And I told my, one of my children, I said, "Listen, you're going to make those same mistakes with me. You're going to make those same mistakes. We're probably going to lose customers or accounts, or stuff is going to slip through the cracks. And those same mistakes you're going to make with me, you're definitely going to make them somewhere else. But this is a safe spot. And it's not just because you're my son or you're my daughter. It's because we have a culture of training people, giving them the platform to like shine, to make mistakes, and the autonomy to make decisions. And typically when they do make those decisions, a lot of times they're going to be wrong. And in the workforce, those incorrect decisions and the job performance is based on right now. It's not based on where you started and where you've gone. So I would say to those small and medium-sized businesses is, if you look at your, an employee's like, "You know what? I think this job will be good for me." Employee, "I think this job will be good for me because it'll help my career, and I think it'll help me move to the next phase of my career." And typically that's all we hear. What's in it for them? And if you're hearing that, you don't know, they just not smart enough and experienced enough to know that you need to approach a job to add value to the employer. And the message is the employer needs to approach it to add value to the employee equally as much as we want somebody adding value to our company.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu people, they're certainly easier to get along with without question.
Sure.
For the most part, I mean, they're not, you're not going to see a jiu-jitsu guy blow a gasket usually. Again, there's outliers all the time, but you're not going to just see them blow a gasket. And so that cool, calm composure is.
But that's I hate to interrupt you, but that's what I meant by patience.
Patience. So before you would get like really angry?
No, I'm a very calm person in general.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu gave me a reason to justify that.
I see. Yeah. Like I don't usually blow. I mean,
I'm very patient now with even like conversations where I'm like, this person's probably wasting my time.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you do jiu-jitsu and you know where like everything can go if everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
it just leads to violence.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just going to do my
Exact-
best to participate in peace.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's the mindset I've carried now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If this escalates, if this goes, everything goes wrong, and then like, we're laying hands on each other, like I'm still really good. Like I'm still okay. You know, I feel good about this. So, so I have a, let's see, final question that we've got, because I know we have, last podcast really ran over, and I want to respect, kind of respect our time limits that we've set here. Is what would you, if you had no other resume, and someone doesn't have a college degree, but they've got a jiu-jitsu purple belt versus someone else with similar accolades, but they have no jiu-jitsu training and a college degree, how do you value those two resumes? It's a hyper-biased question, but how do you value those two resumes?
So, a jiu-jitsu purple belt, you could argue once you get there, it's essentially a matter of time before you become a black belt. So the longer that you're training, a jiu-jitsu purple belt could have been training for 5 to 7 years up until that point.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's 5 of 7 years of showing commitment, consistency, participation. It could be coaching. Like, you think about that. It takes 15 years, 10 to 15 years to become a black belt. And when you say the word purple belt, you essentially, it's just a matter of time putting in, refining just a few things to become a black belt. So if I had a jiu-jitsu purple belt, like, it's like saying, what kind of car do you drive? Well, I drive a Maserati. What? You know, a jiu-jitsu purple belt is a big, big deal. So that would carry so much weight. And just the experience.
More than a bachelor's degree?
Oh my gosh, not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. I would want to meet this person. They're not common.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah, they. I will say that's rare to have something like that. As far as a purple belt looking for work, because they're gonna go out and get something. They're gonna go out and hunt like Coach Keanu did.
Yeah.
They're gonna go out and hunt and just find what they know what they want, and they're willing to do the work to get it.
And you know what?
A good portion of the time.
Jiu-jitsu purple, I don't know how it was when you were purple belt, but that was one of, and I was talking to our students the other day. I was so hungry as
really
a purple
rare,
belt.
really rare.
Man, I was hungry. I was hungry in everything in my life that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I felt like I finally was giving power.
Purple was tricky because I feel like a lot more was expected of you, but a lot more tools weren't given. Like you give a purple belt, and now like the high ranks are expecting you to roll and keep up with them, and there's still such a vast, it's closer than it used to be. But like purple to black now is a lot tighter than it ever used to be. But you used to be like, I mean, a huge disparity. But then all of the lower ranks, the white and blues, like there's a target on you. And so you're like, well, hang on, just last week I was a blue belt and now I'm a purple. Like not much has changed in a week, guys, and you're coming at me like I'm the coach, like I'm the professor, like you're trying to take on. Like nothing has changed in a week. And I know, like, dude, Danny, I would hate this. He would literally, we'd have a trial guy. This is how we treated trials. And this is how we treated trials. It was like, Fox, you got next match. And I was like, because I knew with certainty my next stripe was dependent upon how bad I dusted this trial, dude. And that's not my style, man. Like, and it was usually, because they would usually only get you involved if it was like a bigger athletic guy.
That's messed up.
If it was a bigger athletic guy, because they wouldn't like pull in your they wouldn't pull a blue belt.
That's probably why you were at purple belt for 5 years.
A blue belt would do ample work for most of these trial guys to but they would still dust them and like manhandle these guys. And I just remember these big dudes, and I'm like, man, I just it's a lot of work, but yeah, and so at purple, a lot was expected of you. And I remember one thing one time this just huge guy, and this is back I didn't wrestle, right? He just kind of gave me some hard times. He gave me some, I think it was a week after I got my purple belt. And this white belt, like he just kind of I think he had a lot of wrestling. He manhandled me and Americana'd me. And just this huge dude. And you remember Evan, what was his name? Man, what an angry dude. Evan, what was it? Saneki?
Evan, who drove the motorcycle, black hair,
Yeah, whatever.
tattoos, was
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean Evan.
military,
He
yeah.
kind of looks like the Winter Soldier a little bit, just like super angry guy.
Yeah.
Bilecki or something. I don't know. He's like, way to go, he effectively called me an embarrassment to the team. Right? He's like, that's how you just got purple a week ago, and that's how you handle against white belts. And this was like a freaking huge wrestling white belt, which is I started wrestling shortly after. But and I was like,
But he made it to blue or purple, right? Or no?
Evan.
Yeah.
I did. I saw him get his brown. He's probably black now. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
I doubt it.
Oh, dude, he was tough. That's what made it so. That's what made it so difficult, because he was an asshole, but he was really good. Like, so he's an asshole who could beat you up, which makes I think that makes the situation worse. It's one thing if someone's like, if they're a jerk and you're like, dude, get out of here. Like, I'll bust you up. That was not the case. Like Evan, I don't know how we do now.
I mean,
dude, he was tough for me. He was really tough.
No,
for me.
he was tough. I remember rolling with him.
Very
but
tough.
That's,
How'd you do against him? He did. I did not do well, like at all. But he's way
he
more
started
physical.
before us, didn't he?
I don't know where he came from, but he like transplanted. Yeah, I don't know where he came from, but he transplanted and
He was not a white belt.
No.
Yeah.
He didn't come up there white belt.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
he transplanted from. I think he's like from New York or something. But he
Yeah.
was super just mad,
Yeah.
and I think he served and probably had PTSD. And,
I think he did.
yeah, so like I'm giving him some grace, but like he was tough, man, and he was like relentless. Like every match was like, I'm just gonna try and survive and not get injured with this match, But that was what purple belt took at the time. So we're gonna go ahead, and we don't have any more comments. Where do you normally check for comments, Coach Keanu? Do we see any?
Yeah, let me check. So there's been nothing on YouTube.
All
this
right, because
entire
I think
time.
Alejandra's is showing up. She's expecting, by the way. Congrats. I assume-
Congratulations,
I assume
Alejandra. I
that's-
didn't know that.
Assume that's public. She made it public to the team. I would assume it's.
That's a weird question. Can you roll jiu-jitsu if you're pregnant? Is it
Roll,
not
I would say
recommended?
probably not, but
gonna say-
do the warm up and some technique that are good for your body.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say you can't roll.
Belly down is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, that's something. I mean, is it like for the first? Is it for the entire 9 months, or is it just for like?
I'm gonna defer to a medical professional on that one. Start talking about, I have a rule with pregnant ladies. You don't ask them if they're pregnant unless you see a live baby coming out of them. That's the general rule.
That's
right?
a responsible
Like,
way to do that.
Yeah. So
I don't see any comments on Facebook or YouTube.
cool, perfect. All right, guys. So then we're gonna go ahead and log off. Hit the calls to action wherever they're at on the socials. Like, subscribe, follow. The whole nine. And then Coach Muhammad had to step out, but appreciate you following along. And as always, we will see you on the mats.
Wow.